The emergency containment protocols failed the moment Jennifer Rodriguez touched the cleaning supplies. And now 3 Calvoxian cubs were treating the quarantine zone like a playground. "Stop her!" Commander Zilax's voice cracked across the medical bay intercom, his mandibles clicking in rapid-fire panic. "Rodriguez, step away from that cleaning cart immediately. Those cubs are Category 5 biohazards." Jennifer looked up from her desk, spray bottle in one hand, already halfway through wiping down her workspace. "Yeah, I got the memo about the lockdown. I'm just cleaning my desk real quick before—" "The cubs are dying!" Medical Chief Caldra practically shrieked, her 3 eyes dilating in horror as the containment field shimmered and collapsed. "Every surface they've touched carries lethal contamination. We've lost 17 medical staff attempting decontamination. You need to evacuate now." The 3 cubs, each about the size of a large dog, covered in silver-blue fur, burst through the failing containment barrier with excited, chittering sounds. They bounded directly toward Jennifer, leaving glowing footprints of contamination that made every alarm in the medical facility scream in protest. "Oh, for crying out loud," Jennifer sighed, looking at the stack of reports she'd just organized. "I literally just cleaned this area. Automated defense systems engaging." Zilax's claws hammered against his command console. "Barrier protocols Alpha through Omega. Someone stop those cubs before they reach the human." Every force field flickered into existence between the cubs and Jennifer. Every single one shorted out within seconds, sparking and dying as the cubs simply walked through them. The medical scanner arrays spun frantically, their readings climbing into ranges that shouldn't exist. "Contamination levels exceeding measurement capacity." Caldra's voice had gone shrill with terror. "Commander, the readings from those cubs, they should be dead. Nothing survives that level of toxic exposure." "Tell me something I don't know!" Zilax slammed his appendage against the emergency broadcast system. "All personnel, full station evacuation. We have a Category 9 contamination event. This is not a drill." Jennifer squinted at the approaching cubs, who were now less than 10 meters away and chittering happily. "Have you guys tried, like, regular soap? Because those fancy sterilization fields you keep using seem to be making things worse." "Soap?" Caldra's medical training apparently didn't cover human stupidity. "This is a molecular-level contamination cascade. We've deployed every decontamination protocol in the galactic medical database. Plasma sterilization, quantum purification, atomic restructuring." Right. Jennifer went back to organizing her papers, moving a coffee mug to the side. "Super impressive, but did you try soap?" The cubs reached her desk. One of them, the smallest, with bright copper eyes, grabbed onto Jennifer's cleaning cart and tried to climb it. Another started pawing at her leg. The third one jumped directly onto her desk, scattering her freshly organized notes everywhere. "No, don't let them touch you." Zilax was now standing at his console, all 6 of his limbs frantically working different emergency protocols. "Rodriguez, those cubs carry enough contamination to sterilize an entire deck. The moment they make contact." Jennifer picked up the cub from her desk, holding it at arm's length as it dangled and chittered at her. "Yeah, you're a messy little thing, aren't you?" Every medical sensor in the bay exploded into red. Contamination readings spiked so high they crashed 3 monitoring systems. Caldra made a sound like a dying engine. She's touching it," the medical chief whispered. "Direct contact, no protective equipment. She should be dead. She should be dead right now." The cub in Jennifer's hands wriggled happily, reached out a tiny paw, and booped her nose. "Cute." Jennifer set it back on her desk, where it immediately started pawing through her papers again. "Okay, seriously though, who's feeding these guys? They smell like they've been eating garbage." "Feeding them." Zilax's voice hit a pitch that Jennifer didn't know his species could reach. "They're dying. They've been quarantined for 6 cycles because every attempt to treat them makes the contamination worse. Our top xenobiologists can't figure out what's killing them." The other 2 cubs had now climbed onto Jennifer's desk as well. One knocked over her coffee mug, thankfully empty, and started batting it around like a toy. The other one grabbed a stack of her maintenance reports and started shredding them with tiny claws. Oh, come on. Jennifer grabbed the reports before they could be completely destroyed. I just printed those. The cub chittered apologetically. At least, it sounded apologetic. And then did something that made every alien in the medical bay freeze in absolute horror. It grabbed its emergency ration pack, a sealed container of processed meat that had been provided during quarantine, and dumped the entire contents directly onto Jennifer's newly cleaned desk. Wet, grayish chunks of allegedly nutritious protein splattered across her paperwork, her keyboard, and the front of her uniform. Are you kidding me right now? Jennifer stared at the mess. I literally just... Do you have any idea how long it took me to organize those notes? The cub looked up at her with huge innocent eyes and chittered again. Medical readings are... Kyledra's voice had gone quiet, confused. Commander, the contamination levels around the human are... They're not increasing. They're stabilizing. That's impossible. Zelax pulled up the sensor data on his display, convinced there must be an error. Check the equipment, run diagnostics. Those cubs should be killing everything within a 5-meter radius. The smallest cub had now climbed up Jennifer's arm and was perched on her shoulder, making soft chirping sounds directly into her ear. Yeah, okay. You're lucky you're cute. Jennifer started gathering up the scattered meat chunks with her bare hands, and dumping them back into the container. But we're going to have a serious talk about table manners. She's touching the contaminated material. Kyledra's 3 eyes were so wide they looked like they might fall out. With her unprotected skin, someone get a medical team down there now! All medical teams are in evacuation pods. Zelax frantically cycled through his personnel roster. We're down to skeleton crew, and in case you haven't noticed, every single medical protocol we have is currently failing. Jennifer wiped her hands on her uniform. Her uniform, like she was just cleaning up after a messy lunch, and grabbed her spray bottle again. Okay, little guys, I need you to move for a second so I can actually clean this mess. The 3 cubs chittered at her, but obediently hopped off her desk. Then they sat in a neat little row on the floor, watching her with fascinated eyes as she started spraying cleaning solution on her desk. They're obeying her, Kyledra whispered. Cubs in critical contamination crisis don't obey commands. They're supposed to be in aggressive survival mode. This violates every behavioral pattern we've documented. Add it to the list of things that make no sense. Zelax watched his monitors, where the impossible was happening in real time. The human is cleaning contaminated material with basic sanitation supplies, and the readings are by the void. The contamination levels are dropping. Jennifer hummed tunelessly as she wiped down her desk, occasionally shooting glances at the 3 cubs who were now watching her like she was the most interesting thing in the universe. So, she said conversationally, addressing the intercom, even though she wasn't looking at it. Is someone going to tell me what's actually wrong with these kids? Or are we just going to keep screaming about contamination levels? Kids! Kyledra's medical training was clearly not prepared for this conversation. They're contaminated specimens in critical condition. They're children who are obviously sick and scared. Jennifer finished cleaning her desk and crouched down to the cubs' level. All 3 immediately crowded around her, making happy, chittering sounds. And I'm betting whatever you've been doing to help them has been making things worse. Am I right? The silence from the command center was deafening. Yeah. Jennifer stood up, a cub now attached to each leg and one trying to climb her cleaning cart. That's what I thought. Okay, seriously? Jennifer grabbed a handful of paper towels as the middle cub, she'd mentally nicknamed him Trouble, dumped yet another container of meat rations onto her freshly cleaned notes. We just went through this. Trouble chittered proudly and pawed at the mess, spreading it further across her desk. Yeah, I can see you're very pleased with yourself. Jennifer started scooping up the gray sludge, her tone somewhere between exasperated and amused. You know, I've dealt with worse at the daycare back on Earth. At least you guys aren't finger painting with it. Commander, medical sensors are spiking again. Kyledra's voice climbed an octave. Contamination readings just jumped by 40%. The cubs are actively producing more toxins. Or, Jennifer said, wiping down her keyboard with a standard disinfectant wipe. They're trying to tell you something and you're not listening. The smallest cub, she'd decided to call this one Tiny, had discovered her mop and was currently attempting to drag it across the floor. The handle was 3 times her size, but she was determined, making little grunting sounds with the effort. "Ah, look at you trying to help." Jennifer smiled despite the mess. "You're hired." "Help?" Zilax's mandibles clicked so rapidly they sounded like a machine gun. "Rodriguez, those cubs are biological weapons at this point. They're not helping, they're contaminating." "They're playing." Jennifer moved to intercept the 3rd cub. Big guy, obviously, who had just discovered her bucket of soapy water and was attempting to stick his entire head in it. Hey, not for drinking, buddy." Big guy pulled his head out, sneezed directly into Jennifer's face, and then made a happy chirping sound. "Gross." Jennifer wiped her face with her sleeve. "But also, bless you, I guess." Every medical alarm in the facility screamed in perfect harmony. "Direct fluid exchange." Keldra sounded like she was having a breakdown. "That's it, she's dead. There's no way she survives." "I'm fine." Jennifer checked her watch. "Actually, I feel great. Better than I did this morning, honestly." "That's the contamination affecting your neural pathways," Keldra insisted, but her voice had lost some of its certainty. "You're experiencing euphoria before system failure." "No, I'm experiencing the satisfaction of a clean desk." Jennifer sprayed more cleaning solution, and the cubs all leaned in to sniff it curiously. "Well, it was clean for about 5 minutes. Commander, I'm getting readings I've never seen before." Keeldra's tone shifted from panic to confusion. "The cubs' contamination levels are still high, but their vital signs are improving. That's impossible. Every intervention we've tried has weakened them further." Zilax pulled up the biometric data, his eyes narrowing at the impossible readings. "Run a full diagnostic on all sensors. This has to be equipment failure." "Already running. Sensors are functioning perfectly." Keldra paused. "Commander, the cubs are actively moving toward the humans' cleaning supplies. They're avoiding our medical equipment entirely." Jennifer glanced down at Trouble, who was now attempting to drink from her spray bottle. "Yeah, because your medical equipment probably smells like death and fear. Kids can sense that stuff." "They're not children, they're—" Keldra started, then stopped. "Wait, they are children, cubs, juvenile stage, but that doesn't explain why—" "Sector-wide evacuation now!" Zilax's voice boomed through every speaker in the station. "All non-essential personnel to escape pods. This is a Tier 1 biological crisis." "I'm not evacuating until I finish cleaning this mess," Jennifer said calmly, scrubbing at a particularly stubborn stain on her desk. "Do you know how long it takes to get these stains out if they set?" "The station could be compromised in minutes." Zilax slammed his appendage against the console. "Your cleaning schedule is not worth your life." "It's Thursday." Jennifer said it like that explained everything. "I always deep clean my station on Thursdays. Routine is important." All 3 cubs had now settled around her feet, watching her clean with rapt attention. Tiny was attempting to copy her movements with a small rag she'd grabbed, dragging it across the floor in what might generously be called cleaning. "The cubs are mimicking her," Keldra said slowly. "They're engaging in social learning behavior. Commander, cubs in crisis don't do that. They revert to survival instincts." "Then these cubs aren't in crisis anymore." Zilax pulled up another screen. "But our sensors say they should be dying. What am I missing?" The medical bay doors burst open with a hydraulic hiss. A figure in full biohazard armor strode in, carrying equipment that looked expensive enough to buy a small planet. "Biohazard Specialist Vexthul reporting." The armored figure's voice came through multiple filters, making it sound mechanical. "I've been authorized by military command to take control of this situation. Where are the contaminated specimens?" "They're not specimens, they're kids," Jennifer said without looking up from her cleaning. "And they're right here." Vexthul's helmet turned toward the cubs, then toward Jennifer, then back to the cubs. You're in direct contact with them. with no protective equipment, and you're alive. Yeah, it's been a weird Thursday. Jennifer wrung out her rag in the bucket. You want to help? Grab a mop. I'm here to contain the biohazard, not... Vexthul activated a scanning device that immediately started emitting a high-pitched whine. The cubs all flinched and pressed closer to Jennifer, making distressed chirping sounds. Hey, turn that off. Jennifer's voice went sharp. You're scaring them. They're contaminated organisms. They don't experience... I said turn it off. Jennifer stood up, putting herself between Vexthul and the cubs. Whatever that thing is, it's hurting them. Vexthul's scanner reading spiked into red zones. Impossible. The contamination levels around you should be lethal. My equipment must be malfunctioning. Or your equipment is the problem. Jennifer picked up Tiny, who had started crying, an absolutely heartbreaking sound. There, the scary robot's going away soon. I'm wearing necessary protective gear. Vexthul adjusted several settings on the armor. And my equipment is top-of-the-line Galactic Council certified decontamination technology. Jennifer bounced Tiny gently, making soothing sounds. The cub gradually quieted, nuzzling against Jennifer's shoulder. Great. Well, your top-of-the-line technology is terrifying sick children, so maybe try something else. Vexthul deployed a sterilization field generator. The air shimmered with ultraviolet light and ionized particles. All three cubs immediately started wailing. Their contamination reading spiked by 60% in under 5 seconds. Shut it down! Kaldra screamed through the intercom. You're killing them! Vexthul deactivated the field, clearly shaken. That's supposed to reduce contamination. It's standard protocol. Yeah, well, your standard protocol sucks. Jennifer had all three cubs clinging to her now, making miserable sounds. Look at them. Does this look like it's helping? Big Guy had grabbed Jennifer's cleaning rag and was pressing his face into it, making desperate little snuffling sounds. He's seeking the scent of the cleaning solution, Kaldra said, her voice filled with wonder and confusion. Why would contaminated organisms seek out non-sterile materials? Maybe because they need non-sterile materials, Jennifer said quietly, realization dawning. Oh no. Please tell me you guys haven't been... Trouble suddenly ran to the corner where he'd stashed his meat rations, grabbed the container, and dragged it back to Jennifer. He dropped it at her feet, looking up at her with pleading eyes. The meat inside was gray, lifeless, and smelled like absolutely nothing. When was the last time these cubs had real food? Jennifer's voice had gone very flat. And I mean real food, not whatever this processed garbage is. Silence from the command center. We provided standard quarantine nutrition, Vexthul said defensively. Fully sterilized, all pathogens removed, molecularly perfect. Molecularly dead, you mean? Jennifer stared at the gray sludge. Oh my God, you've been starving them. Vexthul's armored hands moved across the scanning equipment with increasing desperation. Numbers scrolled across the display, and with each passing second, the specialist's movements became more frantic. This can't be right. Vexthul's filtered voice had lost its confident edge. Commander, I'm reading massive concentrations of chlorine compounds, quaternary ammonium derivatives, and enzymatic breakdown products in the cub systems. In common, please, Zilax demanded. The contamination... Vexthul looked up from the scanner, and even through the helmet's opaque visor, the shock was palpable. It's not biological, it's chemical, it's sterilization byproduct. The silence that followed could have suffocated stars. That's impossible, Kaldra whispered. Our sterilization protocols are designed to protect... They're designed to kill everything. Vexthul's scanner beeped again. Every microorganism, every bacterial colony, every fungal spore. We've been flooding these cubs with sterilization treatments for 6 cycles. The contamination we're detecting is their bodies breaking down from the inside because they have no functional microbiome left. Jennifer shifted Tiny to her other hip. Yeah, that tracks. You basically chemically burned their guts, right? Their digestive systems, their skin flora, their respiratory microbiomes. Vexthul pulled up more data, each screen showing another catastrophic failure. We destroyed everything. Standard Calvoxian medical practice for contamination exposure is complete sterilization and isolation. You isolated sick children. Jennifer's voice had gone cold. In a sterile room, with sterilized food, and then pumped them full of more chemicals when they got worse. It's protocol. Kaeldra's voice cracked. Centuries of established medical practice. When organisms show signs of contamination, you eliminate the contaminants. Except they weren't contaminated. Vexthul sat down heavily, the armored suit hissing. They were healthy cubs with normal microbiomes. Then they were exposed to our decontamination systems after a minor spill in the habitation sector. We thought we were saving them. We were killing them. Trouble had abandoned the meat rations and was now pressing his face against Jennifer's leg, making soft sounds. So what they actually need is... Xilax was clearly struggling to process this. The opposite of sterile? They need microbiome recolonization. Vexthul gestured at Jennifer, which the human is providing just by existing. Humans are walking bacterial colonies, no offense intended. None taken. It's accurate. Jennifer was now sitting cross-legged on the floor, all three cubs in her lap. We've got trillions of bacteria living on us, in us, part of us. That's horrifying, Kaeldra said automatically. That's life. Jennifer pulled out another disinfectant wipe, non-sterile standard Earth formula, and started cleaning Tiny's face. The cub leaned into it, purring. Your bodies need bacteria. Good bacteria. They help you digest food, fight off actual bad bacteria, produce vitamins. You can't live without them. The cleaning supplies. Vexthul was scanning Jennifer's cart now. They're not sterile. They contain active bacterial cultures. Probiotics. I mean, they're supposed to clean stuff, not sterilize it. Jennifer shrugged. Back on Earth, we figured out that killing everything is actually bad for you. You need some exposure to build up immunity. The cubs knew. Kaeldra's voice was filled with horrified wonder. They broke containment and ran directly to the human because they could sense what they needed. The biodiversity. The living microorganisms. They dumped their meat, rations on her desk because those rations were dead. Vexthul pulled up the nutritional analysis. Completely sterile. No bacteria, no enzymes, no life. Just molecular protein structures. They were starving on a cellular level. Big Guy had found Jennifer's lunch bag. She'd forgotten about it in the chaos, and was now pawing at it desperately. Oh, buddy, I don't think Calvoxian digestive systems can handle a turkey sandwich. Jennifer gently moved the bag. But the principle is right. You need real food. Every intervention we attempted made them worse because we kept sterilizing them more aggressively. Kaeldra sounded like her entire world was crumbling. The plasma treatments, the quantum purification, the molecular restructuring. We were systematically destroying what little microbiome they had left. Your ultra-sterile environment was killing them. Jennifer wiped Big Guy's nose as he sneezed again. You created a pristine, lifeless bubble, and then wondered why living things couldn't survive in it. Vexthul stood up abruptly. I need to contact Galactic Medical Command, immediately. Every Calvoxian medical facility operates on these same principles. If we're wrong about basic contamination protocols, you're wrong about everything. Jennifer said it gently, but firmly. You can't raise kids in a bubble. They need to eat dirt sometimes, literally. Earth kids build immune systems by being exposed to stuff. You get a little sick, your body learns, you get stronger. That's barbaric, Kaeldra protested weakly. That's biology. Jennifer had trouble on her shoulders now, the cub's small paws tangled in her hair. You guys went so far in the other direction that you forgot how life actually works. You've got helicopter parenting gone galactic. Helicopter parenting? Xilax queried. Overprotective parents who don't let their kids experience anything. Jennifer bounced Tiny gently. Never let them fall down, never let them get dirty, never let them fail. Sounds good in theory, but you end up with kids who can't handle the real world. So the human contamination we detected. Xilax was putting pieces together. It's not contamination at all. It's biodiversity. Vexthul was typing frantically. The cubs are showing improvement because they're being recolonized by beneficial organisms from the human's skin flora, respiratory bacteria, and environmental microbiomes. Her cleaning supplies are introducing carefully balanced bacterial cultures. Even her breath contains microorganisms they need. My desk mess contained what they desperately needed. Jennifer laughed, a bit hysterically. The coffee I spilled last week probably had more biological value than 6 cycles of your sterile rations. The cubs were now actively playing. Not frantically, not desperately, but actually playing. Tiny was batting at Jennifer's fingers. Trouble was trying to climb her shoulders. Big Guy had discovered a pen and was rolling it across the floor. They're exhibiting normal juvenile behavior, Kaldra said softly. I haven't seen cubs behave like this since before we implemented the new sterilization standards, 3 generations ago. You've been slowly killing your children for 3 generations. Jennifer let that sink in. With the best intentions, with top medical technology, but still killing them. Vexthul removed the helmet, revealing a face covered in fine silver fur, 3 eyes wide with shock. My entire medical framework is invalid. Every certification I hold, every procedure I've mastered, it's all based on killing life when we should have been supporting it. I need to report to High Command. Zilax's voice was hollow. The humans are right. We're wrong. Centuries of Calvoxian medicine is fundamentally flawed. The medical databases are being rewritten in real time, Kaldra reported, her voice numb. Galactic Medical Council has issued an emergency revision of all sterilization-based protocols. This is a paradigm collapse on a civilizational scale. Jennifer pulled out another wipe and started cleaning Big Guy's face. He purred and leaned into her hand. Look, I'm not trying to destroy your civilization here. I'm just saying, kids are messy. Life is messy. You can't sanitize your way to health. She smiled at the cubs. Sometimes the best medicine is just letting them be kids. Trouble sneezed directly into her hair. 2 hours later, the medical bay had transformed into something that would have horrified any Calvoxian doctor yesterday. Today, it was saving lives. Microbiome complexity readings are off the charts, Kaldra announced, staring at her scanner with something approaching religious awe. The cubs have developed bacterial ecosystems more diverse than anything in our medical databases. It's beautiful. The 3 cubs were wrestling on the floor near Jennifer's desk, now officially designated a medical treatment zone, covered in dirt, drool, and what might have been spilled juice. They looked healthier than they had in cycles. Jennifer's skin flora alone contains over 500 distinct bacterial species, Vexthul read from the analysis. Her breath introduces airborne microorganisms. Even her presence in a room changes the environmental bacterial load. She's a walking ecosystem. That's the nicest way anyone's ever called me dirty, Jennifer said, wiping Tiny's face with a non-sterile cloth. The main view screen activated, showing the assembled Calvoxian High Command. 12 of the most powerful leaders in the sector stared at the scene with expressions ranging from shock to fascination. Commander Zilax, the High Admiral spoke. Your report suggests we need to fundamentally restructure 3 centuries of medical practice. Yes, Admiral. Zilax gestured to the playing cubs. The evidence is irrefutable. Our sterilization protocols are killing our children. Medical Chief Kaldra, another council member addressed her directly. You're formally requesting human medical consultation for the entire Calvoxian medical system. I am. Kaldra's voice was steady despite the magnitude of what she was asking. We need to learn their concept of beneficial bacteria. Our entire understanding of contamination is backwards. Specialist Vexthul, you're asking permission to study human cleaning methods? Vexthul nodded. Human sanitation practices maintain cleanliness without sterilization. It's sophisticated in ways we never considered. Military command is standing down from contamination threat status, the High Admiral announced. Effective immediately. Humans are reclassified from biohazard to medical resource. Jennifer had started setting up what she called a proper daycare area in the corner of the medical bay. She'd brought in non-sterile toys, introduced the concept of shared play items, and was currently explaining to horrified medical staff why letting cubs play in dirt was actually beneficial. On Earth, we let kids make mud pies, she explained, demonstrating with a container of actual soil she'd requisitioned. They build immunity through exposure. Big Guy immediately face-planted into the dirt container, emerging with soil covering his snout. He looked deliriously happy. "That's deliberate contamination," a medical technician protested. "That's childhood," Jennifer corrected. "Watch." Within minutes, other Calvoxian parents were arriving with their children, desperate and hopeful. The cubs who'd been showing similar symptoms to the original 3 were brought to Jennifer's contaminated zone. Station protocols were being rewritten in real time. Beneficial contamination zones were being established. Human cleaning staff across the station were suddenly being consulted on medical matters. So sterile doesn't mean safe anymore? Zillax was updating his understanding fundamentally. Sterile means dead, Jennifer said simply. Safe means balanced. There's a difference. Trouble had adopted Jennifer as his surrogate mother, refusing to leave her side. Tiny and Big Guy weren't far behind. "I think," Keldra said quietly, "we just learned that sometimes the most advanced medicine is remembering what life actually needs." Jennifer's messy desk, covered in cub toys and spilled snacks, had become the most important medical facility on the station.